Insurgency in Balochistan history. Background. The Baloch nationalist struggle is centered on the Khanate of Kalat, established in 1666 by Mir Ahmad. Under Mir Nasir Khan I in 1758, who accepted the Afghan Paramountcy, the boundaries of Kalat stretched up to Dara Ghazi Khan in the east and Bandar Abbas in the west. However, in November 1839, the British invaded Kalat and killed the Khan and his followers. Afterwards, the British influence in the region gradually grew. In 1869, the British political agent Robert Sandeman ended up mediating a dispute between the Khan of Kalat and the Sardars of Balochistan, and established the British primacy in the region. The tribal areas of Mari, Bugti, Ketran and Shaghi were brought under the direct administration of a British agent, eventually to become the Chief Commissioner's province of Balochistan. Las Bela and Haran were declared special areas with a different political system. The remaining areas of Sarawan, Chalawan, Kaki and Makran were retained as the Khanate of Kalat, supervised by a political agent of Kalat. In the 20th century, the educated Baloch middle class harbored hopes of an independent Balochistan free of the British. They formed a nationalist movement Anjumaniyat Ahadi Balochistan in 1931. One of their first campaigns was to fight for the accession of Azam Jan as the Khan of Kalat and a constitutional government to be established under him. They were successful in establishing Azam Jan as the Khan, but the new Khan sided with the Sardars and turned his back on the Anjuman. His successor Mir Ahmad Yar Khan was more sympathetic to Anjuman, but he was averse to upsetting his relations with the British. The Anjuman, transformed into the Kalat State National Party, KSNP, continued to fight for independence from the British. It was declared illegal by the Khanate in 1939 and its active leaders and activists were exiled. This paved the way for the formation of new political parties, Balochistan Muslim League allied to the Muslim League in June 1939 and Anjuman I Watan allied to the Indian National Congress in the same year. During British rule, Balochistan was under the rule of a chief commissioner and did not have the same status as other provinces of British India. The Muslim League under Muhammad Ali Jinnah in the period 1927 to 1947 strived to introduce reforms in Balochistan to bring it on par with other provinces of British India. During the Pakistan movement, public opinion in Balochistan, at least in Kuwait and other small towns, was overwhelmingly in favor of Pakistan. The Pro-India Congress, which drew support from Hindus and some Muslims, sensing that geographic and demographic compulsions would not allow the province's inclusion into the newly independent India, began to encourage separatist elements in Balochistan, and other Muslim-majority provinces such as NWFP. The Khan of Kalat lent great support to the Pakistan movement but also desired to declare independence. Lord Mountbatten, however, made it clear that the princely states with the lapse of British Paramountcy would have to join either India or Pakistan, keeping in mind their geographic and demographic compulsions. On 19 July, Mountbatten called a round-table conference meeting between representatives of the state of Kalat and government of Pakistan. Mountbatten discussed with them the status of the Kalat state. The representatives of Kalat argued that Kalat, as per the Treaty of 1876, was an independent and sovereign state and not an Indian state. Mountbatten accepted this position only for the purpose of negotiation. Thus, Mountbatten confined the topic of discussion to the leased areas of Quetta, Nushki, Nasirabad, and Bolan. He explained that Pakistan rejected Kalat's claims that these areas should be returned to Kalat. Pakistan's position was that it would inherit all treaty obligations incurred by India to the foreign states. Kalat argued that the leases clearly stated that the other party besides Kalat was the British government alone. Kalat argued that it was a personal agreement and there was no provision that the leases to the British would be inherited by others. Therefore, since the agreement was between Kalat and the British government, Pakistan could not be the latter's successor party. Pakistan did not agree that the agreement was personal, as personal agreements by nature implied that only a particular person was involved. Mountbatten also said that according to international law, treaties such as the one being discussed were inherited by successors and not invalidated by a transfer of power. Mountbatten also suggested that in case there was no agreement the matter could be put before an arbitral tribunal. Kalat wished to have further discussions on the matter. Kalat also argued that in case of a vote in the leased areas between joining Kalat and joining Pakistan, then the vote would go in favor of the former. Pakistan did not agree that the vote would have such a result. Kalat also expressed its deepest desire to remain on friendly terms with Pakistan and stated that it understood that Jinnah, who was anxious for a correct decision, wanted more time to study the issues between Kalat and Pakistan. Mountbatten, however, suggested that Jinnah not be brought into the discussions. Mountbatten insisted that Kalat and Pakistan sign a standstill agreement, which both countries did. The standstill agreement also stipulated that both parties would discuss as soon as possible about their relationship concerning defense and external affairs. According to the Article I, the government of Pakistan agrees that Kalat is an independent state, being quite different in status from other states of India. However, the Article 4 stated, a standstill agreement will be made between Pakistan and Kalat by which Pakistan shall stand committed to all the responsibilities agreements signed by Kalat and the British government from 1839 to 1947, and by this, Pakistan shall be the legal, constitutional and political successor of the British. Through this agreement, the British Paramountcy was effectively transferred to Pakistan. However, without making any agreement with Pakistan and in violation of the standstill agreement, the Khan of Kalat declared independence, to Jinnah's shock. After the Indian government refused Kalat's request for merger with India, the ruler of Kalat unconditionally signed an instrument of accession with Pakistan on March 27, 1948, contrary to the wishes of his state's legislature. First conflict. Balochistan contained a chief commissioner's province and 4 princely states under the British Raj. The provinces Shahi Durga and the non-official members of the Quetta municipality opted for Pakistan unanimously on June 29, 1947. 3 of the princely states, Makran, Las Bela, and Haran, acceded to Pakistan in 1947 after independence. But the ruler of the 4th princely state, the Khan of Kalat, Ahmad Yar Khan, who used to call Jinnah his father, declared Kalat's independence, as this was one of the options given to all of the 535 princely states by British Prime Minister Clement Attlee. Kalat finally acceded to Pakistan on March 27, 1948, after the strange help of All India Radio in a period of negotiations and bureaucratic tactics used by Pakistan. The signing of the instrument of accession by Ahmad Yar Khan led his brother, Prince Abdul Karim, to revolt against his brother's decision in July 1948. Princes Aga Abdul Karim Baloch and Muhammad Rahim refused to lay down arms, leading the Dashti Chalawan in unconventional attacks on the army until 1950. The princes fought a lone battle without support from the rest of Balochistan. Ref Jinnah and his successors allowed Yar Khan to retain his title until the province's dissolution in 1955. Second conflict. Nawab Noroz Khan took up arms in resistance to the one-unit policy, which decreased government representation for tribal leaders, from 1958 to 1959. He and his followers started a guerrilla war against Pakistan, and were arrested, charged with treason, and imprisoned in Hyderabad. 5 of his family members, sons and nephews, were subsequently hanged on charges of treason and aiding in the murder of Pakistani troops. Nawab Noroz Khan later died in captivity. Nawab Noroz Khan fought a lone battle as the rest of Balochistan did not support the uprising. Third conflict. After the second conflict, a Baloch separatist movement gained momentum in the 1960s, following the introduction of a new constitution in 1956 which limited provincial autonomy and enacted the one-unit concept of political organization in Pakistan. Tension continued to grow amid consistent political disorder and instability at the federal level. The federal government tasked the Pakistan Army with building several new bases in key areas of Balochistan. Sher Muhammad Bijrani Mari led like-minded militants into guerrilla warfare from 1963 to 1969 by creating their own insurgent bases, spread out over 45,000 miles, 72,000 kilometers, of land, from the Mengal tribal area in the south to the Mari and Bugti tribal areas in the north. Their goal was to force Pakistan to share revenue generated from the Suai gas fields with the tribal leaders. The insurgents bombed railway tracks and ambushed convoys. The army retaliated by destroying vast areas of the Mari tribe's land. This insurgency ended in 1969, with the Baloch separatists agreeing to a ceasefire. In 1970, Pakistani President Yahya Khan abolished the one-unit policy, which led to the recognition of Balochistan as the 4th province of West Pakistan, present-day Pakistan, including all the Balochistani princely states, the High Commissioner's province, and Gwadar, an 800 square kilometers coastal area purchased from Oman by the Pakistani government. Fourth conflict 1973–77. The unrest continued into the 1970s, culminating in a government-ordered military operation in the region in 1973. In 1973, citing treason, President Bhutto dismissed the provincial governments of Balochistan and NWFP and imposed martial law in those areas, which led to armed insurgency. Khair Bakhsh formed the Balochistan People's Liberation Front, BPLF, which led large numbers of Mari and Bengal tribesmen into guerrilla warfare against the central government. According to some authors, the Pakistani military lost 3,000 to 4,000 soldiers during the conflict with the Balochi separatists, while between 7,000 and 9,000 Balochi militants and civilians were killed, with majority being unarmed civilians. Assisted by Iran, Pakistani forces inflicted heavy casualties on the separatists. The insurgency fell into decline after a return to the four-province structure and the abolishment of the Sardari system. Fifth conflict 2004 to date. In early 2005, rape of a female doctor, Shazia Khalid, at the Suai gas facility was the spark igniting the conflict. Her case and the unusual comment by then Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf about the controversy, stating on national television that the accused officer, named as Captain Hamad, was not guilty, led to the violent uprising by the Bugti tribe, disrupting the supply of gas to much of the country for several weeks. In 2005, the Baloch political leaders Nawab Akbar Khan Bugti and Mir Baloch Mari presented a 15-point agenda to the Pakistan government. Their stated demands included greater control of the province's resources and a moratorium on the construction of military bases. On December 15, 2005, the Inspector General of the Frontier Corps, Major General Shujat Samir Dar, and his deputy Brigadier Salim Nawaz, the current IGFC, were wounded after shots were fired at their helicopter in Balochistan province. The Provincial Interior Secretary later said that, after visiting Kolu, both of them were wounded in the leg but both are in stable condition. However, a 2006 cable from the American Embassy in Islamabad leaked by WikiLeaks noted that there seems to be little support in the province, beyond the Bugti tribe, for the current insurgency. In August 2006, Nawab Akbar Khan Bugti, 79 years old, was killed in fighting with the Pakistan Army, in which at least 60 Pakistani soldiers and 7 officers were also killed. Pakistan's government had charged him with responsibility of a series of deadly bomb blasts and a rocket attack on President Pervez Musharraf. In April 2009, Baloch National Movement President Ghulam Mohammad Baloch and 2 other nationalist leaders, Lala Munir and Sher Mohammed, were seized from a small legal office and were allegedly handcuffed, blindfolded and hustled into a waiting pickup truck, which is in still, sick, use of intelligence forces in front of their lawyer and neighboring shopkeepers. The gunmen were allegedly speaking in Persian, a national language of neighboring Afghanistan and Iran. 5 days later, on 8 April, their bullet-riddled bodies were found in a commercial area. The BLA claimed Pakistani forces were behind the killings, though international experts have deemed it odd that the Pakistani forces would be careless enough to allow the bodies to be found so easily and light Balochistan on fire, herald, if they were truly responsible. The discovery of the bodies sparked rioting and weeks of strikes, demonstrations, and civil resistance in cities and towns around Balochistan. On August 12, 2009, Khan of Kalat Mir Suleiman Dawood declared himself ruler of Balochistan and formally announced a council for independent Balochistan. The council's claimed domain includes Sistan and Balochistan province, as well as Pakistani Balochistan, but does not include Afghan Baloch regions. The council claimed the allegiance of all separatist leaders including Nawabzadeh Bramdad Bugti. Suleiman Dawood stated that the UK had a moral responsibility to raise the issue of Balochistan's illegal occupation at international level. The Economist writes, the Baloch separatists are supported, with money, influence or sympathy, by some members of the powerful Bugti tribe and by parts of the Baloch middle class. This makes today's insurgency stronger than previous ones, but the separatists will nevertheless struggle to prevail over Pakistan's huge army. US-based exiled Baloch journalist and newspaper editor Malik Siraj Akbar writes that the ongoing Baloch resistance has created serious challenges for the Pakistan government, Unlike the past resistance movements, because it has lasted longer than previous insurgencies, has greater breadth, including the entire province from rural mountainous regions to the city centers, involves Baloch women and children at regular protest rallies, and has drawn more international attention, including a 2012 hearing by the U.S. Congress. Islamabad has accused its neighbor India of supporting the insurgency in Balochistan. However, infighting between insurgent groups as of late 2014 has weakened the movement. On November 23, Chinese consulate was attacked by BLA fighters. Drop in violence, 2012-present. Many factors limit the scope of the nationalist insurgency. The Baloch themselves are divided into rival camps and often carry out tribal infighting amongst themselves. Pakistan's IC often exploits this and brings tribal rivals into the ruling government. Balochistan province itself is of mixed ethnicity, with Baloch being 54% and the rest being Pashtuns and Sindhis, who are overwhelmingly Pakistani nationalists. This information can be seen in preliminary findings of 2011 census. Sindhis vote for federalist parties such as Pakistan People's Party of Bhutto Zardari family, and Pashtuns historically voted for conservative pro-Pakistan Islamist politicians such as Fazal-ur-Rahman, politician. The Baloch practice Islam, are predominantly Sunni and speak Urdu with other ethnic groups such as Pashtuns and Sindhis, cultural traits in common with the rest of Pakistan. Government schools provide Urdu education. Baloch militants themselves stand accused of rights abuses. Human Rights Watch published a 40-page report which criticized Baloch nationalists of killing, threatening and harassing teachers.